4 lights, 5 red lights here at Japan. And it is lights out, and away we go. It's a really good start for Firat Atas, who immediately looks to jump John Manning off the line. Elias Mohammed has had a brilliant start. He won't be bothered. Into turn 1 as Firat Atas takes the position away off of John Manning. Jakob Hoffer and Marcel Hole lose out to Nahir Basara, and they make their way through turn 1 pretty cleanly. Jakob Hoffer up the inside of Marcel Hole, trying to squeeze him through the S section. He just gets pushed out and is going to have to back off, but it's a pretty clean turn 1 and turn 2 for these drivers. Elias Mohammed leads the pack, then Julian Peters, then Firat Atas, John Manning, Nahir Basara, Marcel Hole, Jakob Hoffer. Fletcher Watson's made his way up to P8. Paavo Peltomo stayed P9, and then Lauda up into P10. Max Amalan has also had a rough start. He's now trying to follow these drivers through Degda 1 and Degda 2, and Sebastian Krog gets shuffled down with the AI connection issues. As Nahir Basara is going round the outside of Marcel Hole, and they make contact, and Nahir Basara just shoves the Red Bull off the track after being rudely barged, and they make a bit of contact at the chicane, and that will upset Marcel Hole, who will probably look to try and return the favour, but is unable to gain on the Williams. Is going to have to look to settle back in, and Marcel Hole has actually had a trip through the grass and through the gravel. Now up the inside, looks Fletcher Watson, and Marcel Hole just shuts the door, and John Manning has already got track limit penalty, literally on lap 2 here. He's already got a 3-second penalty, and that will not help him if there's a safety car at any point. Who else is close up and down the field? We've got Matt Guest is pretty close to the back of Paavo, and now he's going to overtake Paavo, as Paavo had a massive rear end swap there, and he's going to try and abuse the ghosting here and try and re-overtake Matt Guest. He's got to stay inside the car for as long as possible, and it's pretty much like a ghosted time trial now. Paavo Peltomo will try and re-overtake Matt Guest while doing this, but look, Matt Guest has got a much better exit, and that is the position sorted. John Manning has potentially made another mistake, or has let his teammate through. Either way, he drops down to P5. Meanwhile, Paavo is surely going to overtake Matt Guest here. Matt Guest recharges, switches battery off, and lets the DRS move happen. And Max Amalan trying to go round the outside on Matt Guest. That'd be quite ambitious. Matt Guest shows him the door, and Max Amalan looks to the outside of Matt Guest once again. They actually make quite a bit of contact there. Matt Guest definitely won't be a stranger to giving Max Amalan some argy-bargy if he makes too much contact. Oh, Marcel Hole has been off the track and has been through the pit entry bollards, and has now lost a heap of time to Jakob Hoffer. I wonder if there was player-to-player contact there, or whether he just made a mistake and went off on his own accord. Either way, he drops down to P7. That allows Paavo Peltomo to close back in. Marcel, Marcel was actually at a big moment there and just manages to scoop that up, and he is having major difficulties here. He must be struggling with the rear tyres overheating, because he's now dropped all the way down to P13. That's let his teammate through, and he's now well out of the points, and looks like we might see a switch between the Saubers here, and there it is. John Manning is making the call. He's going for the undercut, and Marcel Hole gets a track limit penalty. And I think that must have been at 130R potentially. Max Amalan also coming into the pits. And what tyres is it for John Manning? It is the hard tyres. Fletcher Watson is another one to fault to the hard compound tyre. And he might even get overtaken by Sandro and Kevin, but he is going to come into the pits and copy John Manning here and Max Amalan. Something happened to Jay. Something has happened to Jay. He's gone off at Degda 2, doing a bit of a Logan Sargent there. If anyone remembers that incident, he's gone off at Degda 2, under the bridge and in the gravel, and he drops down to P11. Nahir Basara comes into the pits now. This is one to look at, because his teammate John Manning was pretty much on his bumper as he went into the pits. So, will John Manning have pulled off a successful undercut here? John Manning is coming through the chicane now. Nahir Basara is making the long run down the pit lane for Williams. Where will he come out compared to John Manning? How powerful is the undercut? This gives us an idea of how the rest of the race is going to go. John Manning gets a decent undercut, but it's not a huge gap. It's not even a second. So these guys were within about 4/3 of each other. And so once again, keep an eye on what his progress is like through the field. It looks like he won't get too much traffic. I think he's going to come out. Actually, keep an eye on where he comes out in relation to John Manning. Will John Manning have undercut any of the top 3? Wow, it's going to be tight. Have the Williams boys done it? John Manning has done it, and Nahir Basara is trying it round the outside of the Sauber, but the Sauber will be understeer with cold tyres, and they just end up running each other off the track. I'd say there's a 50-50 chance of leading the race here. Let's see. Firat Atas has a good pit stop. Elias Mohammed, let's see here. His pit box much further down. Has a good pit stop as well. And of course comes out in front of Firat Atas. So where is John Manning compared to the inside? He's actually overtaking Marcel Home. A bit of traffic. John Manning has the net race lead with the DRS after getting past Marcel Hole, who is definitely all traffic for these guys. Potentially he might even be trying the one stop to get some track position. John Manning has the net race lead. Elias Mohammed is net P2 and getting held up by Marcel Hole, who may be trying a one stop. You never know. It's not a guaranteed two stop. And you can see just how bad the traffic is for Elias Mohammed. The gap in front of him is almost 2 seconds. That is hugely inconvenient for Elias Mohammed, for Julian Peters, for Nahir Basara. John Manning has played a blinder here. Absolutely amazing stuff from the Williams strategy. Marcel Hole, I believe, is trying to race these drivers. He's up the inside of Elias Mohammed. Kind of has to back out because he just doesn't quite have the grip, and now all of these drivers are going to try and come through on the Red Bull driver. But that is huge for John Manning. That's given him huge breathing room, and wow, that's Nahir Basara actually almost spinning round. And which driver did he make contact with? That must have been Marcel Hole or one of the Saubers, and I think he's actually got, yeah, he's got front wing damage. Nahir Basara with front wing damage at a pretty crucial track where your front wing is extremely important to your downforce, and that could be race ruining for Nahir Basara. We may well see him coming to the pits. Look how much battery he has as well. John Manning does not have nearly as much, and here he goes. This is for the net race lead. Elias Mohammed up the inside. John Manning tries to stick it round the outside, probably exceeds track limits, and just manages to stay in front of Elias Mohammed. Elias Mohammed manages to hang in there and avoid any contact, but brilliant racing between the two. Elias Mohammed tried it in a tricky spot, and John Manning held his nerve round the outside and said, nah, you're not getting past me that easy. And Elias Mohammed will have to wait, and potentially just wait for this easy DRS straight here. But here we go. Elias Mohammed is going to go for a net race lead. John Manning's going to completely cover the inside. He's got to force the Ferrari round the outside. John Manning won't leave much space. Elias Mohammed is really pushed out wide onto the dirty side of the track, onto the low grip, and it's good defence from John Manning, who manages to retain the net race lead for now. And now Elias Mohammed will get a better run on the Williams, and Williams defends the inside late. It's going to be really tight for Elias Mohammed, who just has his front wing in there, and now squeezes John Manning out. John Manning manages to hold it round the outside though, and is still there, tried to hold it up the inside. He got a bit of grass on his tyres. That was difficult for John Manning. And that is Sandro having a moment as well down in sector 1. But Elias Mohammed takes the race lead, and this time it is not just a net. He takes the race lead on track. Over halfway through, John Manning is coming to the pits off of these hards, and oh no, race ruined, you have to say, for John Manning, who has come into the pits way too fast and now has 16 seconds total of penalties. John Manning does it once again, just a little too hot. Max Hamlin gets straight past him, and Vera Atis has sent it straight down the inside of Elias Mohammed, and Vera Atis has gone for the lead of the race on the VSC restart. He must have had a brilliant run. I didn't see it as we saw Fletcher Watson getting overtaken by Max Amalan, but Firas Atis has gone for the race lead, and Julian Peters is now making a Sauber sandwich for the Ferrari as there's yellow flags at Degner 2. That's one of the Aston Martins that are recovering back to the roads. He's burning a lot of battery here. Will he go for the race lead up the inside of Firas Atis? Firas Atis holds the inside line. Elias Mohammed will breeze around the outside. That's a little bit different to when he was fighting John Manning. However, he is still on the outside, and Firas Atis has got a decent run, but he has huge oversteer from the rear axle and now has to then drop back down into P2, and Elias Mohammed retakes the race lead at these race wins and these race victories. And Nahir Basara has had a spin at the chicane, and the man who had front wing damage, he was running comfortably, well I say comfortably, probably difficultly in P5 if that's even a word, and now his teammate moves back up into P5 and overtakes Jakob Hoffer. So John Manning, a bit of damage limitation. He's still got track time penalties to come. Through 130R for the last time, and up to the chicane for the Ferrari. The gap is too big now for Firas Atis to do anything about it, unless Elias Mohammed makes a fatal mistake, which he doesn't do. He keeps it in one piece once again, and the Ferrari crosses the line to win at Suzuka. Elias Mohammed takes another victory. He wins round 8 of round 10 of a round 10 season, excuse me. Julian Peters comes home in P3. Paavo Peltsamar will cross the line. He doesn't crash for once. He takes a P4, 13 seconds adrift. Sandro will get pretty decent points for Haas. He comes home in P5. Kevin Gerling has a great result considering where he started, coming home in P6, and then Jakob Hoffer will finish P7. That might even be P8 with penalties as Nahir Bassar crosses the line and inherits his position. Something's happened with Matt Guest towards the end of this race because he's got a lot of extra penalties here.